Hi, everyone, and welcome to Happy Not Satisfied, the show where we talk about finding joy in the process of growth. I'm joined by my incredible co-host, Ellie Morrison, and we're so honored to have an amazing guest with us today. Not only is she the director of wine for the prestigious, world-renowned Driftwood Golf Club, she is also a signed recording artist. She's performed at Austin City Limits. She performed the national anthem for the Major League Soccer, Austin FC. She's an incredible person and friend, a woman of many talents. SISI Berry, welcome to Happy Not Satisfied.
The very coolest intro I've ever gotten.
It's all true. It's all you.
Yeah. You're one of the very coolest friends we have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stoked for it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for
here.
coming down from Austin to be here.
My pleasure.
Cece and I have had the pleasure of knowing each other for most of our lives. And we like to dive right in, Cece. I mean, we've had a lot of talks in person about a lot of these things that with mindset that we talk about with Happy Not Satisfied. And you just hit a major milestone in your music career, which is becoming a signed artist, which congratulations again, by the way.
Thank you.
I mean, you've been at this for so many years, just building stone by stone, brick by brick, by doing multiple things at once. And before we started this recording, we were kind of talking about this concept of like, embrace the mess, right? Like things in life don't happen in a clean cut, compartmentalized way. And so we'd love to just dive in and have you kind of share like what your experience has been, you know, kind of going and growing through that, like finding joy in the process of growth with all of your components that you work on as a creative while still kind of fielding these challenges that have come your way.
I think the most bizarre part that I'm learning in this moment is the perspective and the perception of what's happening versus what's actually happening, right? There's the output and the version of what people see versus what you're actively going through, and the dichotomy between how they'll celebrate you versus what you're actually going through. So if someone's like, you're crushing it, congratulations, while you're, you know, struggling hard in, be it in heartbreak, which was my scenario, or if you're moving jobs, or you're just like, you've been at this for years and you're like, will anything change? Or am I just a hustling artist forever? Which the hustle never stops. It's still an active thing. It's just a different version of the hustle all of the time. But that's the thing I've kind of been like bewildered by, is running into people right now that are like, you're absolutely crushing it. I've been watching you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I've worked like 30 jobs at once. Like if anybody knows me, the way that I even hang out with friends is like, hey, what are you doing on Friday? And they're like, what's going on? Like, are we finally gonna like actually just hang out? And I was like, well, no, I was gonna see if you wanted to work this event with me from 7 to 10:30 an hour, like, and then we can hang out while we're there. And you know, it's just like a service gig and whatever. I just like my mess is also the way that I am, like the way that I do life. Of everything that I do is kind of work and kind of play, but it might be play to someone else, it might be work to someone else. But I've tried to make everything that I do feel like it's all helping the momentum of anything that I am trying to be it in fitness or in music or as a daughter, you know, like it's the weirdest thing. But the part where people celebrate you when you're definitely not doing well is a really weird thing to digest. And in the last year, almost to a T, I got really, really heartbroken. And not to minimize or maximize what makes someone's life feel like they're turned upside down, but it really did do that for me. So it completely rocked me. And I was very sad. But I also was writing the most I'd ever written. And then really good things would happen. And ACL would be happening. And I would be still like crying in the van on the way to play a show that was my dream. That's my dream, you know. So, and to have them both coexist in your nervous system and in your heart space is really crazy. But that's all it all is everything is happening all at the same time. And I kind of, for the last year, have been like hands up and just taking away the liability or it's relieving to just be like, fine, then all come at me all at once.
I love that.
You know what I mean? And just like, whatever. And if I'm crying along the way and be like, I don't know, I just had a really hard year. And that's okay, too. To be like, I'm going to have a ton of good music coming out, but I was also having a really hard time. And those can happen at the same time. And that's okay, because more than likely, someone else is too. We're not just like all bundles of daisies. Everyone wakes up looking glowing and stuff, but
Yeah.
they had to set themselves up for that glow.
I mean, I think that's super interesting. And I have found that when big things happen, maybe in your career, you romanticize what that's going to be. And then when you actually get there and you feel it and you quote unquote accomplish something, it never feels how you think it's going to.
No way.
And sometimes you're let down in a way because it defies your expectation. But I think once you accept that and live in that and realize this is just life, and we're going to move through it and see what happens next.
Well, the crazy part is getting that, like, that sugar crash. Like, you get the thing you always wanted, and then at the end of the night, it's still you walking home.
Yep.
And you put your guitar back in, and you're like, okay, well then what do we do now? Like, it happened. Da, 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 da. Like, what's supposed to happen now?
Exactly.
You know? And you have literally two choices. You either love on what you just did and get stoked for whatever comes next, or you go, oh my God, nothing happened of it. But nothing is supposed to, and everything is supposed to, all at once. We're the concept of no one's coming to save you. Like, it's just, you're just here and you're just doing it. And did you like it? Cool. Tomorrow's another day. What else do you want to do that would give you that same sensation? Are you chasing a sensation, or are you just happy to be? And in what version of happy to be do you want to be?
Yeah.
You know?
And when we talked a few weeks ago, that term sugar crash is so appropriate. And that's what I equate to this concept that we talk about a lot, which is like the I'll be happy once I kind of a thing. It's like, I'll be happy once I do this big thing. I'll be happy once I play ACL, right? Yeah. But then it's like, then you have the sugar crash and you're like, well, am I going to be depressed now that it's over and I don't have that high anymore? Or am I going to find a way to be happy in this process and grow through it?
Yeah, it's weird. The actual sensation when I realized that the sugar crash was gonna hit was after ACL. They have to flip the rooms, you know, because the days pass and there's other artists that got to get in, and so they let us know, you know, that like after the set you have 3 hours or like 2 hours to clear your things, and then like the moment set, and I was like, oh, it's like onward.
Yep.
Like we have the world keeps turning.
Yeah.
Right. And when you think that the world is just you for a second, it really does. Anything that can kill my ego as often as possible, I'm here for ego death. As often as possible.
I feel you on
like,
that.
on you go,
you.
kid. And I'm like, okay, tight. But the sugar crash is a ton, and also has to be fine. It has to be fine that nothing like monumental come of anything besides like chasing the feeling versus chasing the personal record or the personal best. Is like, with what feeling did I get? Then I'm going to chase that feeling. Because if I chased every ACL, you know what I mean? Then that's just not. I have to get that same sensation from taking a walk, you know, and a lot of things. I have to find a lot of things that give me that constant. Because if it's just one thing, then I've put all my eggs in one basket, and that's a big liability. It's a big risk.
It's a huge risk.
If I spread my joy around my entire life, then the net is wide.
You're diversifying.
I'm
diversifying your joy.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm brokering. And I'm an investment banker of my joys.
Yeah.
I'm the S&P 500. What is the joy that I can get?
Yeah.
I love that concept, diversifying your joy. I think, you know, talking about how to build your resilience in life for these rejections or sugar crashes or, you know, letdowns or setbacks, I identify a lot with what you just said about the things coexisting simultaneously. And I felt that transitioning, like my latest big life transition is becoming a mother. And that's an interesting one where it's a lot of duality that I personally felt, because you feel literally like a shell of yourself and the lowest you've ever felt physically, mentally, energetically, just from the exhaustion of in your postpartum time. And everybody's looking at you being like, you're glowing, it's wonderful, blah, blah. And you're like, I haven't slept in bed. You know, it's just it's an interesting, like, you know, a contradiction that's happening there. And the more that I've gone through it, like the more I've realized, wow, that's everything. That's life. That's the human experience. And I don't know where in culture we kind of started doing like the, for lack of a better term, Disney-fying of life milestones and things. But I find that just embracing, like giving myself the permission to embrace that there is complexity in this and whatever you're going through or this experience or that. And even when things are good that happen, like, you know, the other day we found something out that something is going to happen that we've been working on for years. And I was shocked that when we got that news, I felt a weird, like, not grief, but like I don't know, it was not what I expected.
It never is.
It never is. And I thought, oh my God, this is Happy Not Satisfied. This is what we've all been talking about.
Yeah.
It's like, this is why we don't bank all of our everything on one singular achievement, because it was like on to the next thing, and our son had to have dinner and I had to keep moving.
Yeah, like my phone's going and you're like,
Stumbling.
I thought something was going to happen. And you're like, what did we expect? Someone's going to come out of nowhere and be like, you know those things that you pull at New Year's? Like,
The poppers.
Like strangers come and say,
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
This is what I thought.
Yeah, like
how
you
it
win
is.
life. I want to talk about, your life story a bit, because I have known you for a long time, and you have always inspired me, and your resilience has always inspired me, because you went through one of the greatest challenges that a young person can go through in losing your father very young. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious to hear how that has influenced you as an artist.
I mean, before even being an artist, I think it influenced my entire identity. And I don't know about any other kids that had gone through that besides my siblings, but it became a real part of our identity that we were the kids of a father that was killed in the military. And I took that played a role in every single move that would later happen, whether it be how friends or family interacted with us and us growing up, and who my mom is and who she was prior and who she had to become to raise 5 kids on her own. And the entire mission of whatever it was I wanted to do in life being a devotional, I want to take care of my mom. Like, my mom deserves a beautiful life, and all she's done is raise 5 kids on her own with the beautiful support of the village that is our friends and family. But it's insane. She gave a birth to our youngest brother months after it happened alone, So it was everything. And even very recently, my sister and I talk about this all the time. It is still such an active unraveling to realize how many parts of your decision making have come from being either a hero mentality because you want to save the family, make sure we're all okay, or a victim mentality of being like, everything, we're just here and something bad happened and now I'm stuck in San Antonio type of feeling. Because for a while, San Antonio didn't feel like home. It was just where we got stuck because this is where we were stationed when he passed away. And to develop a new identity around where home is in my adult life and being like, oh, I love being from here. But I had to hate it for a while. Yeah. Because I associated it with where we got stuck because of something bad. So I didn't try to be an artist since I was a kid or something. I wasn't actively pursuing. In fact, I wanted to be in the WNBA. That's the truth.
Sweet.
I still think I have a shot.
Well, it's picking up steam right now. It'd be a good time to do it.
I know. I'm like, Caitlin Clark, look my way.
Yeah.
But nothing's been like, because I'm an artist and I've been influenced by my sadness or something. I think just the way that I am as a human, everything has always been, even in high school, like most kids go to parties and drink in high school, and I refused to drink in high school. Well, 1, because it's against the law.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly. But 2, because I was like, well, no, I'm under my mom's roof, and I promised that I would take care of the kids with her and wouldn't drink under my mom's roof because we're 5 kids and she's on her own. All my decision making as a character, as a person, came from that, like everything. And then even the decision making when I went to college, I was pursuing medicine because my father was a pediatric infectious disease doctor. So real big parts of all of us siblings were like, we need to do it to honor our father. And then only like towards the end of college, I had a huge breakdown where I was like, I need to call my mom and tell her that I'm not going to pursue medicine, that I'm going to play music and I'm going to move to Spain. And it was so sad because I was also letting it go of an identity.
Yes.
And like a little discovery of what I thought was like, I don't know, this little girl playing guitar in a room and that's what she wants to do more than do medicine and save lives. I was like, what am I doing? This is actually so selfish. And I associated wanting to play music with being really selfish. Because there was no way in my head. It's a big dream of mine, but it is my dream to take care of my family with my life, whatever that may be. And for it to be music is really setting myself up for a hard little journey. But it's also like a walk the walk thing. If I'm out here telling my siblings, like, you just be yourself and be a real person and blah, blah, blah. If I'm not playing music and they're like, liar, like, what are you doing then? So it's not that I think my dad passing away at the age it did helped develop very profound dreams that were really riddled in a very sweet, honest part about of the kid in me. That's like, I love my family. I just want them to be okay. And that's navigated a lot of the way that I write or feel or love, or why it hurts so bad to get heartbroken, because I know that family and that love is that real. So if anything, it's that the opportunity to write as honestly as I can, or as honestly as I try to, I think also comes from that. You know, when you meet people and you're like, hi, nice to meet you. How you doing? Good. How you doing? Good. And you're like, none of that was real.
Yes.
What are we even saying? I think tragedy takes away a lot of the like sugar of life. And at least it's the truth. And so in my head, even this past year when I was very, very sad, I couldn't hide it. Like, it was just, when you're trying to run with a full cup of water. Okay, that's what my face looked like all the time, where I couldn't pretend to be crushing it. Even though life stuff was doing great.
Yeah.
I was struggling. And so I had no choice really but to be like, I'm having a hard time, but people would still be like, but you're doing great and we believe in you and your music. And I ended up kind of liking that I couldn't hide it, because frankly, a lot of people would come up and be like, people that I don't even know that well would come up and be like, this happened to me like a year ago, you're going to get through it, blah, blah, blah. And everyone was there again. And that happened to my mom when everything happened. People were almost overly present and expressive about what's really going on in life. And that's kind of nice. You go through a bunch of stuff and everyone feels like they're doing fine, and we compare our lives to other people. And it's not that everyone's doing terribly, it's that everyone's got stuff.
Yeah.
And people some do better than others at hiding it or living with it. But it would make it easier for everybody if we could share how to live with everything together. Because if you got it figured out in one little corner, well, then that's like, in school when you tell like your friend the answer is B. I feel like there's a world in our adult life where we can be like, the answer is B to this part of life, but it's like we're giving each other the cheat sheet and we're still being like, no, thank you. Like, no, I'm telling you the answer is B. Just do, so I don't know. I'm not sure how to digest life or trauma or anything like that, but I'm sure trying, and I try and talk about it, I guess, more often than I used to, because I'm realizing that it has potency and power and value and sincerity. And those are feelings to stay as close to as I can. If anything, of all the feelings we feel, potency, power, and sincerity and honesty, that way, that's a good way to be.
That's beautiful.
And it's hard to be. So whatever's hard also feels like sometimes the right move.
Yes, we talk about this a lot.
The obstacle is the way.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, now your single Sugar is the first single that you're releasing probably the day of this episode release in your new album. Can you share a bit about the meaning behind Sugar, the meaning behind the album?
I feel so lame saying this out loud, but I'm so excited for this song, which is cool to say out loud because there's no like cool way to be like, yeah, it's a great song. Like, it's bad. I think it's a great song. I vibe to it and I have a really good time dancing to it. And it's also one of my first like happier songs I've put out after a year of writing a bunch of, more Americana sad stuff. It's nice to watch yourself show up in a different light. Like I'm inside of my own process and then in like this surreal way watching myself too. I'm like, oh, we're okay. Like we're not a cup of water full and running. Like there might be some water in there, but I'm walking.
Yeah.
We're okay.
Yeah.
And Sugar, I wrote it in my head at a great little wine bar in Austin called Rosie's that everybody should go to. And I would sit in the corner of Rosie's when I was really sad, and I would take my dog, and I'd sit in the corner and just have some wine, right? And be like, let time pass. I just needed time to be passing. And I'd have my headphones in, but never playing music. One, because I'm a light eavesdropper. And two, sorry if I'm nearby, everybody. And two, because I just have all these thoughts in my head, but you just want a reason to make people feel like they can't talk to you.
Yeah.
I'm in therapy for all of this. But I would sit at this very sweet patio. It's very bistro-y European, and there's these, pockets of people that are on dates. Day after day after day, when I'd go to this little wine bar to write or read or whatever, these dates would be happening, and they were all kind of saying this, like, it's not a script, it's like a pattern. Like everyone knew the cool thing to say when you're meeting people as consistently as I guess people meet people today. I've never I've never been on a dating app and all those things, and so I don't really know how the constant way of saying hi, how are you, and reintroducing yourself as often as people do now. It was fascinating, and I was watching it, and everyone was so cool, and everyone was just right on the surface, like their best foot forward, like the best dessert you can give someone. But everyone was it's like the meal went backwards. Everyone was starting with dessert with each other. It was like if you were to go to a restaurant and you order the sweet thing first, and then you'd work your way to that big entree with people. But these people are on dates, and they're saying vibey stuff. Even the way you get out of the date at the end, right? When you're like, well, I have an early morning, so I gotta go. But this was awesome. This was a vibe. Like, we should, maybe we'll see each other again. Like the really cool script. And everyone did it just right, and I was like, what? I'm just writing things down. I'm like, early morning, that's incredible. Like, everyone's got to go because they're responsible too. So it's a flex. Like, I got an early day. Like, I'm going to start with yoga, and then I'm going to go to my work from home, whatever. So it's kind of a song about how I think everyone's best foot forward right now is also starting with dessert. And I don't know if that's the right way to do things, but it was sweet. And people do this thing right now where they meet each other, and you're quick in between two feelings. You're either like, I kind of like him, I'll give him a chance. Or you're like, follow me to Mexico. I love you. We're everything. I've met my person. And there's no slow burn in between of getting to know someone. Growing up with people, even with friends. I talk about this all the time with my buddies, where it's like, I know plenty of people that I kind of liked as a human. And then over time, I'm like, you're unbelievable. You're a soulmate of mine. But we grow together. We had that as kids, but I don't think people have that anymore. We have the opportunity to just sift through a moment, sift through people, sift through let's just get on to the next thing quickly. And no one rests inside of the moment, of the person, of where they are that day. I'm different today than I was yesterday. I am very different than I was 3 days ago. Just moments. And that's what Sugar is about, is kind of that everyone is handing each other with good purpose, not any fraudulent side of them, but the sweetest version of them they can. And I wonder if that's the right move or not. But in the meantime, it's delightful to watch as a bystander. I'd like to just watch for now. I'd like to not take part in any of the shaking hands of people. I'd just like to be in the corner having wine while I watch everyone do it. Very, very cool ways. But not for me right now.
I can't
so
wait
that's
to
what
hear
Sugar's
the song.
about.
That's what an amazing explanation. So I feel like in talking to you and knowing you and seeing how resilient you are and how you approach life, you sort of embody this idea that people talk about, that how you are is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond. I'm sure you've heard things of similar vein to that. I feel like maybe now you're conscious of something like that and you move through it, but is that something that you had to develop into? I mean, obviously something happening to you, that full 10% was bad when your father passes away. I mean, there's nothing more tragic. So how did you get back to the 90% and beyond?
I think I have the unique blessing of siblings. I have 5 brothers and sisters, and my mom, who's my mom. So you end up having to be, you feel like you do things better. Addicts talk about this a lot, actually, in addiction podcasts and pattern podcasts, where when you're making it through something and you watch someone else go through the struggle, it enriches you just as much because they might be in the wave of ache that you just got through maybe an hour ago. Yeah. So I think in the shared experience of trauma as kids, it was... it's like my moments of resiliency or of that I felt stronger were also because I was watching my siblings go through a hard time, and you want to be like, well, I got you. Like, we can do this. You know what I mean? Like, this kind of kid mentality of we're a village, we're good. Yeah. And then vice versa, when it's a high tides raise all boats scenario, right? So when I'm not doing awesome, obviously I call my siblings, I call my sister and my brothers, and they pull you up, and it's this ebb and flow that you're allowed to struggle, and you're allowed to be strong, and you're allowed to struggle and be strong, and that those are your two hands. You can struggle and be strong. Hard does not mean bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It's a great line.
hard
Yeah.
just means hard. And if it's hard, then it can only be good. If it scares you, then it can only be good for you. You know what I mean? So I think the concept of like getting through things is also the understanding of the reality is there's nothing else but time passing, right? Like nothing will change if I don't change. If you, that great line of, the great line, I don't remember, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten.
Yeah.
Right. So if I need things to change, then I need to do just anything different, just a veer to the left. If I get I get a ton of anxiety sometimes. I have all these ideas and thoughts and get paralyzed by where to go. So my immediate trigger right now of what I do when I get that way is I grab my dog and I go on a walk. And I go, okay, before we get too far in this spiral on a walk. Spiral in the daytime, please. You know what I mean? Like, let's make some
Right.
different choices.
Spiraling at night in bed is the
It's
worst.
bad.
It's
Spiraling
bad.
in bed is the worst.
Yeah.
But like, it's one of those things where a resiliency isn't just overcoming a trauma. Resiliency is getting through moment to moment, day by day stuff.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Like I don't. Yeah, I think even it's wild that I could feel so, having gotten through my dad passing away. That's a day-to-day thing. I just went to a wedding where I watched the father-daughter and all those things happen. And these are just pockets of moments and collections of moments. And the way we handle moments is the way we handle life, because we are just collections of moments. And if for a second I go thinking that I've got next year in the bag, I don't know if I'm here next year. I'm about to be the age my dad was when he passed away. That's really weird for me. Where I'm like, this is how young you were. I feel like a child.
Yeah.
And you had 5 kids. You know what I mean? So you conceptualize time and you're going, I can't be saying, well, one day when I make it on this, I'm going to get on the Grammy stage and tell everyone that my mom is the best. No, I should just do that now.
Yeah.
In whatever way that looks like, because not just like the cliche of you don't know if tomorrow is promised. I just don't know what tomorrow is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
But I do know what like right now and today is, and I want to do today as well as I can. And I'd like to even chop that down even more. I'd like to do just this really well. And then after right now, then I'll figure out what my next couple hours, and I want to do those really well.
And be
then just-
present. I think that's the hardest part for me.
And stacking the wins, you know, the micro wins is your own way of gaining your trust to yourself. Like we're our own best friend. And if I can't do what I said I was going to do, then I don't trust me. And that creates a whole other nervous system energy thing where I'm like, I can't go over there. I know that if I stay out too late, the blah, 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 that I'm not going to do the yoga thing. And then I'm just, that's not me saying, oh, well, give yourself grace. No, it's not give yourself grace. It's be who you said you were to you so that you feel ready for anything all the time. And I'm just trying to stack the small wins so that I don't get eaten alive by the concept of being like, will I ever make it in music? No, you wanted to play piano tonight and finish the second verse of that song and post it. Can we do that? Can we do that, SISI? Can we not stop focusing about what your speech would be at the Grammys about your mom, which is like, I don't feel weird saying that out loud because everyone that plays music thinks about what they would say at the Grammys.
Absolutely.
I couldn't relate to you more because I'm not even a singer. And I think about like, what will my award speech be?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I think about the speeches.
What
like,
award
yeah.
are you winning? But yeah, that's achievements are byproducts of the process, you know, like that's exactly what I think you and I talk about all the time but I love what you just said about moments and how we are just a complete collage and collection of all of these little moments. And what are you going to do in that moment? Just like you say all the time, like, what is my future self? What am I going to make? How am I going to make my future self proud in this moment?
Yeah.
It's not that you're being hard on yourself. It's just that you're holding yourself to the standard that you believe is possible. And this probably is a good time to go down the wellness rabbit hole because this kind of self-care really has been a big thing for us over the past few years, and coming around to that each in our own time, in our own ways, figuring out that the consistent action and, you know, giving yourself the space to do self-care, tiny little things, makes it so that these moments you can get yourself through.
Yeah.
It's not about what everybody always says it's about, right? When you're getting fit or whatever. It's literally, at least my personal motivation when I'm going through stretches that I'm like I'm a stretch person. Dan's a really good everyday type person. But it's to make myself have more control mentally, or emotionally, or be more emotionally deep for my son. These are the types of motivations. How has your journey with wellness kind of evolved over the past several years?
It's the wildest thing. I didn't even think about fitness or wellness in any vanity, because I was raised by five kids who played basketball in the backyard forever. Like, we were the most athletic little kids. So I had no concept of my body image or whatever, because I was just playing. I was a child. We were kids. It's only when you get older where you're like internalizing what it means, not just as someone that's aging, but like what it means that people are receiving of you. Yeah. How you want to show up for the world. And if it's like, what beauty version of it do you want for you? Not in vanity, but like, what makes you feel, when you feel good, you look good. You know what I mean? Even if you're not in the way that you want to look, it's like if you get dressed for the day, you are ready for the day. You're more alert, things like that. When I got very heartbroken, I felt like the only things I could do physically, I could barely speak to people, but I could go to yoga, where it's such a hot room that you couldn't tell if I was crying or sweating.
The cup of water was on everybody. It's all over.
I know. I was like, everyone's crying. We're together in this.
Yeah.
But it was more of that, of like, I feel like I have so many run-on sentences in my head all the time, be it ideas or songs or lyrics or thoughts or feelings or conversations or unfinished conversations that I hope to have, or my to-do lists. Like, it feels so much like chaos. And so for me, I would go to yoga and just to try and breathe so hard that eventually all you can hear is your breathing. And you're like, okay. And you start doing like the meditation and stuff, and you're like, it's like someone brushing when you brush your hair. It felt like my head had dreadlocks. And then when I work out, it's like someone was brushing it, and it felt calming. Even if you don't get all the dreadlocks out, you're like, well, we look a little better, don't we? Yeah. And so the wellness thing kind of was there. But even the other day, I realized too, with music videos and photo shoots, and I'm not necessarily a girl. I love getting dressed up, and I love photo shoots, and I love all of that. But I'm not naturally like so comfortable with it, or like I don't wear a lot of makeup, and I have to kind of work my way up to feeling like that makes sense for me. And I realized sometimes that I will literally dodge those moments, dodge seeing people, dodge anything if I just didn't feel like I looked good. And I was like, seriously, of all of the things we've been through, the thing that's going to keep you from making it is because you don't think you look pretty? That's the dumbest thing. And the reason I don't feel like I don't look pretty is because I ate poorly, or it has nothing to do with literally what I look like. It's because I know that I didn't fulfill the promises to myself of how to take care of myself well. I didn't go to bed on time. I didn't drink enough water. And that starts showing on you. Yeah. And then you can see all of your broken promises to yourself. And that's an aggressive way of seeing it. I assure y'all, I'm in therapy. But it's also a real...
He knows exactly. Yeah,
it's a real way of saying, I said that I was going to take care of myself. How dare I not do this for myself? If I was not me, if I was a friend and I said, I'm going to give you water, good food, put you in bed and make you feel safe, and then I didn't, they would be mad at me. So I've been mad at me. But unlike a friend can be like, I'm angry, so I'm going to take space and walk away. You can't do that with yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
I can't unzip myself and walk away and go, hey, I'm mad at you, I need space. And that's what anxiety ends up being, right? Where you're like, I can't leave you, but I'm mad at you. Or I don't know what to do with how I feel about you. Wow. And I'm right here and I can't get out. It's just me and me. I wake up and I go to sleep with my own head and my own heart. So I got to get really tender and really good at taking care of her, because I can't leave her. You know what I mean? And when I disassociate from like who I'm caring for, then I can care for them better. And them is me, right?
Have you written a song about this in particular? Because I think you should.
Maybe I will.
That was so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's hard to take care of yourself though, and it's insane that when you go to someone's house and you want to clean their kitchen for them, and you're like, I got this. And you do it in 2 seconds. You go to your house and you're like, I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Why? You know, it's it really is these collections of moments, and I feel the same euphoria for my day at the end of the night when you've done everything you said that you would do as I do when I play ACL. That's the truth. And the collections of the way that you diversify your joy and the way that you're like accomplishing life as a whole, that's what I'm seeking. And in the world of fitness, and I just happen to be a very frugal person, as I would do yoga every day, my head would also be like, well, I bet you we could save $200 if we just became an instructor. So I did that. so now I'm
That's
teaching
strategic.
yoga. Yeah, that's the kind of way I was raised too, where we're like, I bet you if we did that, everything that I do now, I enjoy wine, so I became a wine director, and now I teach wine and drink wine, and it's delightful. But also I work in two industries that are not conducive to a healthy lifestyle. I work in music, and I work in alcohol. So the fitness thing is tenfold, even more necessary to integrate in a required way. If I say I'm teaching yoga, and I put myself on purpose to be the one that's coming at 6, doing the 6 a.m. class and the 7 one, that's me cornering myself that I have to get to bed at 10 because I got to do this thing that also gives me a paycheck. So it's like I have to be my own little bumper rails of how I set up my life to where I can't go off, or I make it harder to get off course because I set myself up for those weird scenarios where like, man, I got to get up at 6. And I'm like, yeah, I know. That's why we're leaving. We've had enough wine. The party is over. Let's go home.
Yeah.
You know? After a couple glasses of champagne, suddenly I only speak Spanish. Like, that's when we go home.
I love that.
Have you always been so like aware and good at setting these guidelines for yourself, or how did you develop into that?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Well, because, there's pros and cons about having an ego.
Yeah. I feel you.
It's ego death as often as possible, but I'm so self-aware.
Yeah.
And I can, and I
Man,
see everything.
I relate so
You know what I
intensely
mean?
to that. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have an ego. Like, I don't mind to be like liked by people, but I'm so self-critical. I feel, how do I say this really? I think there's like even like a TikTok of someone saying, I was born with that how hard could it be gene, that I could probably do anything, which is, again, so tone deaf. I cannot do everything, but I feel like I've got a shot at it. If other people could do it, that I could probably figure some version of it out. Maybe I won't beat you on the basketball court, but I'll make you sweat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that concept of the standard that I hold myself to is one that it's who I want to be too. Like who I want to be is a person that's up here, and I know that I can because I've seen myself in pockets be very potent, and I've seen myself not. Which means every time you do something that you think is really great, you're elevating your own bar. I'm not playing against anybody. I'm playing against me.
Absolutely.
You know, and when you watch yourself write a good song versus a shitty song, bad song.
It's all good. No problem.
I'm a bad girl. It's one of those where you're like, you're your own mirror. I've seen myself be good and I've seen myself be bad. And the more I see myself be good, then I hold myself still to those higher standards. And I give myself plenty of grace. It's not that I'm like hard on myself, but I'm hard on myself.
Yeah.
Because I like who I am more when I'm everything that I try to be, or even just versions of the higher self. Even when I got heartbroken, the highest version of me really wanted to just pray for the person that hurt me rather than just hate them. So the song I wrote first, Shaded Trees, is about praying for the person that hurt me. Closely after, I wrote a song called Lie and Cheat. Don't worry. Like, we are all of these things. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying I'm trying to be a glowing, Gandhi all the time. All of these emotions exist in me, but I really appreciate who I get to be for myself and others when I am everything I told myself I can for myself and others. Like, who I show up for to my siblings, to my mom, to my dreams, my ambitions, my anxieties, my friends, their dreams. Like, we're collateral. You know what I mean? My decisions affect other people. So if I can show up for me, I watch other people's lives get better too, in some capacity. Even like even people you don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's, directly related to this idea that you can't put yourself last to put others first. Like this thing where I think there's a misconception where we have to not take into account our needs because somehow we're going to build somebody else up more and give all of ourselves to them. But if exactly what you just said, you cannot give the best version of yourself to other people if you are not taking care of your own self.
Yeah.
And it's like, I used to be a teacher, and in that field, people are so guilty of that.
Yeah.
And understandably so. You know, it's this amazing, noble profession where you're giving of yourself to students. But I found in my own life, like, I am not giving the best version of me that these students deserve because I'm not taking care of myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, once I figured that out, everything got better for me and for them.
Yeah.
And so it's actually a selfless act to take care of yourself and believe in wellness and believe in self-discipline.
Yeah. And to recognize too that some of the time that we are doing that feeling of, well, I have to give, like it's just part of the job and they need me more. That's if everyone was honest with their moment, there's a piece of that we get addicted to, that martyrdom of saying, I'm just giving.
Yes.
Even like the hospitality industry does that often, which is nowhere near what like the way that teachers feel and all of this,
Sure.
but in a different way, we have
It becomes your identity to do that.
Yeah. You find a different way to have an excuse for it.
Yeah.
An excuse for your shortcomings of self, because you're like too busy like giving and whatever. And I'm like, that doesn't mean that you've earned your beer of the night, you know,
Right.
till 3 a.m. It
Right.
still means you could have gone to bed, had some water and woken up fresh to be able to give yourself a workout and go to work better and not come to work being like, it's just another day in paradise. Like these sentences that we say, and then
living
you're
the dream.
living the dream. And you're
Yeah.
like, what are you saying? And what energy are you contributing to other people? Because then you're this echo chamber of like, woe is me.
Yes.
And even when there's value, even when sometimes you're right, like what a late night, like this is a long day. We're playing a role. I chose to be here. That's a profession I chose to be a part of. So if I'm aching and like I have to also realize that like, this isn't jail. This isn't a beautiful opportunity to work and do it well. So to mask it with such light like that is almost just really unfortunate and unfair, because some people would love that job, love that opportunity, love to
find
serve.
that same thing about parenthood. So many things that you see now, especially on social media, is making fun of parenthood and like making light of it. And that's great for comic relief at like, 9 p.m. when I'm like scrolling and just need a mental break for a minute and a laugh. But I have to check myself all the time.
Yeah.
When it is difficult. And, now Leo's a toddler and he is spicy and he's volatile. And you're just like,
I can't sell you.
Exactly.
He's probably just like you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you too. But, in those moments of challenge, you have to remind yourself like, well, we chose this and this is a gift and this is a wonderful thing. But so much of what I see is like a collective woe is me. And it is an opportunity to lead and an opportunity to inspire and an opportunity to like really serve in such a meaningful way. And it's hard, it's easy to lose sight of that in like the trenches when you're just like literally holding him down to change his diaper and he's flailing
100%.
like crazy. But like it's real. And I think that it's just kind of how we are used to talking about everything.
Yeah.
Right now.
I hope that there's like a way where, because it's really beautiful too to express and show the honest sides of the hard parts of people's industries, people's lives, people, that part is really real, but not to just get lost in it either. Right? The realities of being a mom are so, oh my gosh, like they're the most epic. I watched my mom raise 5. Like it was a front row to like the realities. But then also there's the other like huge joy. If someone were to be like, all my friends are like, we're having babies, I'm like, I recommend 5 because I have the best family. You know what I mean? Like there is that the both sides, and they're just as important. And not to get so lost in it, but to be able to camaraderise on a hard time is important, because that's how you pull people. No one wants to swim in the trench.
Right.
You just want to say like, I'm in a trench, and then not be in a trench. Yeah. But if everyone's in it, then you're just, like I said, an echo chamber of how long do we need to talk about the sad part? Like, can we try and get out of the sad together too? Or like give ideas of how to help through the hard time? Or do you need me to be a listener? Which actually I learned from one of my incredible bartenders. One time she came up to me and was saying a bunch of things. She was kind of, for me as a manager, I thought it felt very like she was complaining and she had things that were a problem, and I'm the manager, so I'm going to provide solutions. and I'm here are the things, here's how I want to fix it, here's blah blah blah. And she was like, no, I'm sorry, I just needed someone to talk to, just needed someone to vent to. And I'm like, I'm the wrong person to vent to. I'm a solution person. I'm all like, we don't have to talk about what's bad, I'll make it good, give me 2 seconds, let me fix it. And she's like, right now I just needed to talk to someone, but we can do those solutions later. I was like, my actual reaction was, that's incredible, I'll keep all of this information in mind, vent to your colleagues, that are on the floor with you, because my literal job is to help make your job easier. But the recognition that sometimes we just need someone to talk to, and that we're not just trying to fix it, that's something too that I've been very bad at in my life. I just want to fix
that line
things.
in marriages is tough sometimes.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yep, absolutely. But what you just said also relates to a lot of what people don't realize about the life of a musician. It is a complete grind.
It's the weirdest industry. And it's, I get very peaceful when I see videos of other musicians saying that are successful. Like Jacob Collier, I think, is someone that just answered a Q&A that someone said, what's something that you wish you would have known before you made it or earlier in your career? And his first answer was that nobody really knows what they're doing. And I try and remember that as often as possible, because I feel potent enough to say, I feel kind of bizarre being like, I don't not know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing, kind of, like I'm an aware person, but I don't really know how to, I don't really know. Like It's both. It's very, very both. Yeah. Like I know what I'm trying to do. So I can see the step in front of the step. And that's literally all I've got though. I don't have this like horizon over here. I can see everybody else's horizons, but I can't see mine, but I can see the light in front of my foot, and we'll go with that. But the music industry, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? That is crazy.
I think that's kind of every industry in a way. I mean, I think it's definitely exaggerated and very like palpable with something like music and touring and being a live artist and all that. But in some way, shape, or form, no one really knows what they're doing completely and feels like their path is like so weird and everyone else has it figured out. And we were just talking about this in an episode earlier about like this misconception that there's like this linear path up and to the right. I was the linear path fallacy. I coined that last episode and I'm proud of that. But I mean, I think you probably feel that completely. Like you have this career in wine, you have this career in music, you do all these other things, you have all these passions. Like it's up, down, left, right, around in a circle and in every other direction.
The fact that I'm even doing like yoga like that, there's like
and yoga,
fitness part. I'm like, this is hilarious. Of course I did, because I'm kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall, but it's spaghetti I like.
Exactly.
I'd rather just stay in where, like, follow the feeling of goodness and be like, all right, well, didn't expect you to be in the pot, but you're a cool spice and you fit the meal. I don't really know what we're cooking yet, but it feels like we're leaning toward, it's like I said to you guys the other day, it's like, I feel like I have all of these things on the stove top and cooking, but I don't really know what the meal is, but I'm cooking, you know what I mean? But I don't know what we're cooking. I don't know when it's ready. But sometimes I taste the pasta and I'm like, cool, like metaphorically. But I don't really, I don't. And I think my kid brain still thinks of life like when you go through school.
Yes.
And that I was going to do medicine. So that had a trajectory. It had a plan.
Clear path.
Yep.
Yeah.
To not do that is also to say, it's almost like to feel irresponsible or something. I associated it with this like irresponsibility because I don't know what I'm doing. And I just knew that I wanted to take care of my family. So whatever was going to do that first. The wine world started doing this. I still played music, but wine was what was handling it. And then now music is kind of doing this, and wine is still there, but music gets to kind of be more of a forefront. And then I guess just for fun, because I'm crazy, I've thrown in some fitness stuff, and they're all just kind of helping the boat stay up, and that's fine as long as the boat's up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have struggled in my career over the past 15 years with really trying to check that and learn how to like calm and quiet that voice that is always asking like, what is your meal? What is your meal? What is the meal that you're cooking? Because as somebody who like followed, communication, creative, there was not like, I was not going to be a doctor. I was not going to be a lawyer. I knew that from young years. So it's funny how like when you look back right now, the meal that's in the crock pot, so to speak, like metaphorically on the stove or whatever, I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, this tastes good. This makes total sense. Yeah. But But while I was throwing ingredients in, like slinging stuff left and right, growing up, like through, you know, young adulthood, taking this job, taking that job, taking that client, taking that gig, you're like, what am I doing? You know, and it's so difficult to like detach or learn to detach from that ego of what does this look like to other people? You know, because especially when you're meeting people or you're in a room or you're at an event or anytime somebody asks me, what do you do for work? It's like an immediate, like a cringe, you know, because especially people who are in traditional paths because they've followed something pretty linear. And the other day we were at an event and I was the one who asked. I felt bad. I'm like, now I'm this person, but I was the one who asked the couple across the table, like, what do you do for work? And I can't remember what the wife said, but it was hilarious. It was just like, oh, you don't want to know. And I'm like, no, I relate to you. Is it complicated? Because like, let's get into it. And I think like that has defined so much for so many people of like the fear to step away or the fear to try something different or the, you know, the take the, what is it? Leap in the net will appear kind of thing. But like, it's hard to experiment and discover.
Or even to be aware that you are in a place that you used to pray for, but that you're not relating to it in that way because it's still like nothing. Like when someone's like, you're doing so good, and I'm like, I'm still a nobody. What? I'm still on like the thing where like I'm trying to get my music out and doing this stuff and like, and you feel the need to underwhelm it, but also the sincerity of it of like, it's weird. I'm trying to learn TikTok while 17-year-olds are crushing it on TikTok. You know, I'm still like, I feel like a child in the industry, but I also have to like very much be aware of like, I played ACL, I'm playing shows and putting out music that and working in a way in music that I used to pray for. And it might not be everything or anywhere near what other people are doing, but I need to find gratitude and awareness that that I've been on stairs and that I can look back and be like, cool, we are on a staircase. And I'm, you know, and maybe moving slower than other people. And I'm a big dreamer and I've got I really hope to be able to do, you know, have a full, I hope that one day music is the only thing that I get to focus on and tour and all the things. But in the meantime, and in the growth part, I'm just trying to like really like it. And I'm just in the part where I can't always see who might even like my music or who's just supporting me, because it's really fun to support an underdog. And I think me and my family, we've always just kind of been the underdog, and we work really hard and all the things. And I'm just now at the part where people that I don't know will write me about my music. And that's incredible. And that little pocket, I hope that grows, and I hope to connect with more people. And before that, it was just me writing for me to digest life. So recognizing that I'm doing things that I used to pray for, like one day I'll blah, 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 and not be mad that it's not, you know, I love my Mazda and she's got 250,000 miles. I'm not trying to get a dope car. It's not that. It's like, I'm still a nobody, but man, I really like who the somebody that I am is trying and doing stuff. I do like who I'm trying to be. And that's fine. So I'm even this is awesome. You know, this is incredible. And I'm especially over the time frame of following y'all's path and who y'all are and how I so deeply admire you, and to get to try and stay in rooms of such people that elevate and elevate and elevate and keep growing. This is a huge deal for me, you know, to be able to have conversation with you guys about the things we're doing. We've danced together, and by danced, I mean you danced and I like wiggled around, but like it's really fun. It's really fun to grow up, and it's really fun to pass time and to just share time and pass time and days be different than they were. And that's got to be enough for, you know what I mean? That's got to be enough.
Yeah. Well, and you say that you're in the growth part. I think you're talking to you always going to feel like you're in the growth part. You're going to be playing Madison Square Garden and it's going to feel like the growth part. But that's the beauty of it though, right? That's what it's all about, is that we're always in the growth part. It doesn't, and if you can embrace that, that's how you can find joy in the process. That's how you can get over the sugar crashes of life and
Yeah.
move forward productively. So, all of that is so insightful, and we knew you'd be the perfect guest, and you absolutely have been. You truly embody happy, not satisfied.
Truly.
I was like, I could talk about any of the list of things I like to talk about, and we could do a whole episode on that because you're just like right there. So
there.
it's been
I'm so
incredible.
grateful. And this is how my head works all the time.
Yeah.
Like I'm just thinking to myself all of these things and going back and forth. So to talk about it with people is actually really nice. And I so appreciate the podcast because I do listen to it. And
Thank
it's
you.
a
Thank you.
constant, it's a moment to moment thing where you just remind yourself that it's just another good day if you want it to be.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the name of your next song.
I got a lot to do.
Speaking of, yeah. So your hit single "Sugar" is probably out now when this episode's airing, and then you have an album coming out in the fall, and you're going to be releasing songs along the way.
Releasing songs all
what else
summer.
can you tell us about this, or where to find it, or all of that?
On anywhere that you listen to music, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, everything. And it's a bop. And I hope you listen to it and follow it. And all summer I'll be releasing songs. And that's kind of the focus is I'm slowing down on the shows, just focusing on putting the music out and keeping my head on straight along the way. And
Yeah.
And I'm just excited to try this. It's like I'm making it up as I go.
We all
So it's
are.
kind of just being like, all right, let's see how this goes. But
Yeah.
Sugar, I feel strong about this
great.
song. So.
Well, follow Sisi on Instagram.
Yeah, I was
She's
gonna
at
say.
OCC, right? OH_CCSISI.
It's _OHSISI.
We'll put it in the
Yeah.
We'll
in the
tag you.
description. We'll tag
Yeah.
you too. But you are so good at documenting your process, and I love following your journey and your story on Instagram, and also now TikTok, which we'll link
We're
to all-
trying.
We're trying.
Everyone who's better at it, holler and give me advice. I'm learning.
So
I still call it the tickety talk.
the tickety talk. I know it's hard. That's the one thing I'm dragging my feet on, but I'm trying. Well, Sisi, thank you so much for
you
joining
guys
us, for
so
being
much. I
here.
love
This was
y'all.
such a beautiful conversation.
Inspiring, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course.